Okay, another test for the evaluation of our coagulation factors problem, we have here your mixing status or your substitution test. So this test will help us then to identify if the patient would have problem with coagulation factors. This will help us to identify what specific coagulation factor is deficient or missing or decreased in a patient sample. So we are doing this 1:1. So one part ng ating patient plasma, then you can have here one part din ng different plasma preparation as our reagent. Our different plasma preparation that may be in the form of your freshness serum or even not only your plasma pala, pwede siyang serum. Okay, as a reagent, pwede siyang fresh na serum, pwede siyang adsorbed na plasma, pwede siyang fresh na plasma. Okay, so in the case number 1, so we have here increase na prothrombin time, increase din na APTT. So since both of the tests are increased, it will signify that the patient would have here problem with the common pathway. Okay, common pathway includes your 10-5-2-1. So ito ang sinususpect natin na mababa sa patient natin. So number 1, okay, APTT, patient plasma, add tayo ng fresh na plasma. So nakalagay dito corrected. So, pag na-correct siya, remember that your fresh plasma contains all coagulation factors natin. Na-correct siya, it will signify that ang ating problem dito is coagulation factor deficiency. APTT plus adsorbed plasma corrected. Adsorbed plasma natin, wala siyang factor 2, 7, okay, 9, 8. So, therefore, so anong common dito? 2, 7, 9, 8. So, may factor 2 tayo dito, may factor 2 din dito. So, mean to say, since this adsorbed plasma, wala siyang factor 2, 7, 9, 8, na-correct siya. Mean to say, hindi yon ang problem natin. Bakit siya na-correct? Wala naman siya nito, di ba? So, mean to say, hindi yon ang hinahanap natin na deficiency. You cross out this one, ang matitira na lang is your 10, 5, 2, 1. Okay, next one, we have your patient plasma. Lalagyan mo siya ulit ng fresh na serum. Remember yet that your fresh na serum would have the absence of 1, 5, 8, 13. Okay, so since absent siya, okay, so doon tayo magsususpect kung doon natin hanapin ang ating deficiency. So, anong common dito sa ating 1, 5, 8, 13? Ang naiwan na lang 10, 5. Diba? 10, 5, 1. Okay, so wala siyang 1, 5, 8, 13. Okay, so this will eventually, wala tayong 1, 5, ano pa? 2, 7, 9, 2, 7, 9, 10. 2, 7, 9, 10. Okay, 2, 7, 9, 10, 2, 7, 9, 10. So, ito na lang pala may iwan, 10 saka 5. Okay, 2 saka 5 and 1. Tama, 5 and 1 na lang maiiwan natin. So, remember here, since naiwan siya, and remember that your fresh na serum, wala siyang 1, 5, 8, 13. So, common sa kanilang dalawa. So, pwede ang ating deficiency would be your factor 5 saka factor 1. So, itong sagot natin. Always doon tayo titingin kung ano ang not corrected. So, dito not corrected. So, since ang fresh serum natin walang 1, 5, 8, 13. So, ang naiwan na lang factor 5 saka factor 1. So, that's it. That will be the deficient or wala sa patient natin. Okay, the next one, we have your case number 2. PT is normal, APTT is prolonged. So, it will signify that the patient would have problem with your intrinsic pathway. That's your factor 12, 11, 9, and 8. Okay, ulit, APTT plus fresh plasma corrected. Means to say, the problem here is coagulation factor or deficiency. Kasi na-correct siya ng fresh na plasma natin. APTT plus adsorbed plasma, not corrected. So again, pag not corrected, doon tayo maghahanap. Usually, pag not corrected, doon ang kanyang answer or doon ang ating deficiency. Adsorbed plasma, 2, 7, 9, 8. So, 9 and 8, ito na lang maiiwan natin. So, itong sinususpect natin. Okay, so not corrected with that. And then, APTT plus your fresh na serum, corrected. Again, ito, ang fresh serum natin, wala siyang 1, 5, 8, 13. Since wala siya, ang common dito, okay, will be the factor 8. Okay, cross out natin factor 8. Ang maiiwan is your factor 9. So, our deficiency for this patient is factor 9. Okay, case number 3. PT is normal, APT is prolonged. So we are suspecting that the problem with that is factor 12, 11, 9, and 8. Okay, PTT adsorbed plasma, corrected. Yung adsorbed plasma, 2, 7, 9, 10. Anong common nilang dalawa? So, X na ito, X. Ang maiiwan, 12, 11, 9, 8. 12, 11, 9, ay, 12, 11, saka 8 na lang maiiwan. Okay, next, APTT plus your fresh serum, corrected. So, ang fresh serum natin, wala siyang factor 1, 5, 8, 13. So, anong common nilang dalawa? 8. Okay, so, cross out ang 8, ang maiiwan, 12 and 11. Okay, next condition here, no bleeding tendency. Okay, so between your factor 12, factor 11 is your hemophilia C, and therefore may bleeding ang factor 11 natin. Factor 12, walang bleeding tendency. So, no bleeding tendency, so ang sagot natin, ang maiiwan na lang is factor 12. That will identify our deficiency of the patient. Okay, so another one case study here. So, like for example, you perform your mixing studies, hindi siya na-correct, kahit anong gawin mo, kahit anong i-add na plasma, hindi na-correct, whatever you do here. So, you are considering here the presence of your lupus anticoagulant. Lupus anticoagulant produced by the patient with the SLE or systemic lupus erythematosus. So, this most likely, this lupus anticoagulant is your antiphospholipid na antibody. So, pag antiphospholipid antibody directed towards the phospholipid na structure component of the cells in our body. Basta pag lupus anticoagulant, hindi siya nakokorek ng ating mixing studies. Okay, then we have here the presence of our inhibitors. So, could have your specific inhibitors like your factor 8 inhibitor, specific siya, inhibiting the activity of factor 8. For the factor 9 inhibitor, we try to inhibit here the activity of your factor 9. And these are being produced basically because of repeated na treatment ng patient. Like, pag may hemophilia A ang patient, binibigyan mo siya ng factor 8 concentrate, time will come na palagi mo siyang sinasalinan, magiging resistant. And therefore, kahit salin ka ng salin, it try to develop here the factor 8 inhibitor. Kahit salin ka ng salin, eventually kahit salin ka ng salin ng factor 8 concentrate, magiging wala siyang effect because of that. Your non-specific naman na inhibitor, like for example this one, lupus anticoagulant, because it try to react to the different phospholipid component in our body. Hindi siya ganun ka-specific to each specific na factor lang. Okay, how will we know here na ang patient natin may factor 8 problem or factor 8 inhibitor or even may lupus anticoagulant? Okay, perform your APTT. Why APTT? Because factor 8, siya ang pinaka-common kasi factor 8. Factor 8 belongs to your intrinsic pathway. That's why APTT ang test result natin. Okay, if the result is prolonged, okay, so mean to say may problem ang patient natin, bibigyan mo siya ng normal na plasma. Remember that your normal plasma contains all coagulation factors. Pag nag-mixing study, pag nag-add ka na, perform ka ulit ng APTT after addition of your normal plasma. Okay, if the result after addition of your normal plasma is 10% closer, malapit siya sa normal plasma natin, it will signify na na-correct ang ating coagulation, ang ating deficiency with your normal plasma. Pag na-correct siya, that will signify factor 8 deficiency. Okay, we're not considering for that na inhibitor, but rather factor 8 deficiency since nagbigay ka ng normal plasma containing the factor 8 plus all the other coagulation factors na correct siya. I mean to say that's your factor 8 deficiency problem ng patient natin. Paano kung hindi siya na-correct? Okay, naglagay ka ng normal plasma, prolong pa din. Okay, gagawin mo, mag-incubate ka, incubate mo ang mix na plasma ng patient natin with normal plasma, 37 degrees Celsius for 2 hours. After incubation, perform again your APTT. Pag nag-normal na siya after incubation, that's your factor 8 inhibitor. Ngayon, pag hindi pa rin siya na correct, nag-normalize, even if you try to incubate at 137 degrees Celsius, so that's already your lupus anticoagulant. Kahit anong gawin mo, hindi siya nako-correct. So that will identifies our lupus anticoagulant produced from someone na may SL. Okay, so thank you.